Hello YouTube friends and family, how we doing today? I'm doing a lot better. I actually changed out of my pajama pants and put real clothes on today for you. Thanks for being here today, guys. As promised, because I cannot really get out and do much cooking at the moment out on the big pit out there. I think I told you the last time that we're going to do something a little bit different here. Something that is conducive to keeping my back okay and not hurting so bad. What we're going to do, guys, is we're going to do a Guitar a Week review, okay? Excuse me. And what that will entail is I have a pretty nice little collection of really cool guitars that unfortunately now, because I'm recovering with surgery, I've not been able to play any live shows, and my band is off doing other things with other bands, and so until I can be back on stage, we're relegated to being a couch rock star. Instead of playing for a couple 300 people, we're playing for ourselves. So anyway, what we're going to do, guys, is I'm going to share my inner sanctum with you. I'm going to share with you my inner world of my guitars and signal chains, amps, things like that. And I'm going to bring this to you in hopes that you can number one, maybe learn a little something about guitars or amps or what it takes to be able to play live in front of people, whether it just be for a campfire or 2,000 people, 5,000 people. I think the most I've ever played for live would have been Oklahoma City, and that would have been like 3 years ago. And I think we had that would have been Tower Theater. So that would have been maybe 2,500 people, I think. Lower bowl and upper balcony, I think would have been about 2,500 people. That was a show that we opened for another local band that took us on tour up there. Anyway, long story short, guys, today it is not gonna be a guitar. Not gonna be a guitar, not gonna do it. Wouldn't be prudent, would not be prudent. Because today, guys, I'm gonna let you know a little secret. These guitars, although they're really cool and they're very high end for the most part, there's some that aren't. But guys, a guitar only sounds as good as the amps and the pedals that you put them through, right? So you have a guitar which is wood and steel, and that vibration travels through a cable, and it goes into a pedal or another pedal or another pedal or a processor, and it goes through an amplifier that is generally mic'd on one of the speakers. And that microphone goes into the house mixing board or the PA, which then pushes it through the front of the house, which is the house PA, which obviously provides power for the entire venue, which is what you guys would hear when you go to a show. Yes, it all starts, it starts really with your fingers, but it, strings, and then the neck, and then it goes through the electronics, through the cable, through the amp. Today, guys, we are going to specifically focus on amplifiers. Just like I have a tendency to collect guitars and either bond with them or not. If I bond with them, then I keep them, which are going to be evident in the coming weeks here every Friday. I'm going to showcase another guitar and tell you a little story about that guitar and what makes it special and why it's still in my collection. But today, guys, I'm going to consolidate the amplifier section, okay, and I'm going to show you chronologically where I started with amps and where I've wound up with amps, and I think you'll see that it's quite a transition. From old 60s technology is where we're going to start, all the way up to 2022, which is where we're going to end, which is generally what I play now when I play live, and I'll tell you the reasons why I do that as we progress. So let's talk amplifier, shall we? Okay, guys, what we have here is we have a 2019 Marshall Origin 50 all-tube amplifier head, okay? This is a clone, I should say, in all fairness, it's an import clone or a copy of what Marshall used to make in the 1960s. which you'll see Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, all those guys, everybody at some point played Marshall. Marshall is really the hallmark in the amplifier world. They were really the first, I think it was them and Vox, to come out with a vacuum tube technology, which created power and compression, which allowed the sound, which comes in through our input there, to go through these different circuit boards, through all your EQ there, and come out through the speaker, okay? Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because this is the earliest, really, the earliest amps that guys use live on stage. Now, they would have typically used a stack. In other words, they would use 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of these heads, which this head is a 50-watt head, which is plenty loud, guys. It's plenty loud. When I play this head live, I think my volume only goes up to 2 or 3 because it goes through this speaker here, which is a 2x12, and there's generally a microphone here on the left speaker. Like I said, it goes through the house PA, and it's plenty loud, guys. The mixing engineer will do his thing, and it will be plenty loud for front of house. But basically, guys, everything starts here, okay? Then it comes down through this 2x12 Avatar cabinet, okay? Now this is a custom-made birch 5-ply cabinet, dovetail jointed, so it's all handmade. Avatar is a brand, guys, that started in, I want to say it was California or Washington State, that has since moved their operation. A lot of their cabinets now are made over in Asia because they can get materials and labor cheaper there. But this is one of the USA-made ones. This is loaded with 2 12-inch Celestion speakers, which are made here in USA, okay? And this is a what's called a silver face cab. Again, very reminiscent of what Marshall and what Vox would have had, and Fender also back in the day. Fender made a great amp as well. They still do. But Avatar, guys, really is now known as a import or a cheaper brand. The one here I'm showing you on frame now is not one of the cheaper ones. This is a very heavy cabinet. I think it weighs about 45 pounds, maybe 50 pounds. 5-ply American birch, dovetail jointed, high glue construction. The Tolex, which is this here, guys, the Tolex. You can see how dusty it is. Good Lord, look at that. Showing you the good, bad, and the ugly, guys. Like I said, I'm kind of crippled up at the moment, so I can't really clean, but yeah, it's dusty as shit, right? But anyway, guys, cabinet is very, very high quality. So you plug this guy into that guy, microphone out to the front of the house, and any venue, rock and roll venue you go to, that's basically the signal chain that you'll have. Now, they'll have pedals in front of it. In this particular one, guys, I have a, in my effects loop, which is a loop in between the input tubes and the output tubes, which are the power tubes and the, what's the other one? Shit, let's go back here and take a look, guys. It'd be better if I just took you back here and showed you. Okay, this is the back of our amp, right? So here you have dual selection. You have 8 ohm, either mono or stereo, and then you have 16 ohm output, right? And that all depends on what your cabinet will handle, okay? So for this particular cabinet, it's an 8 ohm speaker, right? So we go in here to the 8 ohm. We're gonna go mono, we're gonna go out through there. But you have your effects loop, guys, is, if I can get it, effect loop right there, right? So you go from the input, which is here, goes out to, or the output, I'm sorry, output. So it's reverse of what you might think. Let me get the camera here. I'm gonna have to edit this out. This is sloppy, but anyway, output here, and this is gonna go through a delay pedal, and it's gonna go through the delay pedal. It's gonna come back through this cable here, guys, okay? And it's gonna come back into the amp. So you have an input speaker, I'm sorry, input tubes or stage. It's a 2-stage speaker system. Input and then output. So this is actually going to bridge the gap, the delay pedal, right? That's going to give you a delay before it hits the power tubes, which are over here, which actually are the second stage that comes through the amp, okay? I know that's pretty convoluted. You musicians will know exactly what I'm talking about. Preamp, guys, preamp and power tubes. That's what I was trying to think of. Preamp being over here, which is where we plugged in the delay pedal, and then that's the preamp, and it goes through, gives it that time delay signature, and then it comes out the power tube over here. Because you have different tubes in there for the preamp and the power, and it comes out the speaker. Okay, now enough of that. So this is basically a rig that I would use for a small to medium size venue, okay? This is a really good sounding rig. It's a very pure 60s vintage style sound. And later on, as we get into the guitars, I will show you which guitars I would pair with this exact rig, okay? Now, I also have down here another 2x12 cabinet, okay? This is a Marshall cabinet, okay? This is a Marshall cabinet, guys, that is made in Great Britain. It's got two Celestion V12 speakers in those, vintage 12 speakers, vintage 30 speakers, I'm sorry, in there, and that is another really nice 2x12 cabinet. So I can actually hook this guy and that guy together and run it stereo out of that. Now, I have done that live. I don't like it quite as well because it does split the signal in half, and therefore I don't think I get as much punch as I do just running it mono, okay? But I have it here at the house set up that way because I don't need a lot of power. I do need the dynamics, which when you run those two speakers, speaker cabinets together, you get a lot of dynamics. It's a true stereo experience. Now, I'm gonna pan around here to my little studio in here, guys. I'm gonna show you exactly what I've got as far as a little studio, which is also my living room of my house. Okay, so this is my chair. This is where I've been sitting for the last 4 weeks, rehabbing. So a lot of times when I'm talking to you guys or on live chats, I'm sitting in that chair. I have my monster big ass couch over here. Is where my dogs call home. This is where I do a lot of my homework on my iPad there. And of course over here, guys, you see some of the guitars that we're gonna get to here in the upcoming weeks. Now this obviously isn't all of them, but these are some. Look at this guy. I mean, look at that guy. Just wait till we get to some of these guys. You're gonna be blown away. And the stories. Okay, now, moving forward in time, let's say 1983, 84, right? Imagine yourself on the Sunset Strip in LA, and you got the hair metal guys coming out, Quiet Riot, right? You got Ozzy Osbourne out there. You got Motley Crue hitting the scene. You got Rat, you got Poison, you got all these guys, right? They're going to be out there. They're going to be slinging Marshalls also. So what we have here, guys, this Marshall head that you see up top there is a head that I bought here locally. I bought it at Tone Shop Guitars. I'm sorry, no, that would be the cabinet. We'll get to that in a minute. No, this head, I'm sorry, different guy. I got this head. I traded another 100-watt head for this one. This is a 1984 100-watt. This is not a tube amp, guys. This is what you call solid state, which means there is no tubes in it. There is a transistor, but it is solid state, no vacuum tubes. It gives a little bit less of a compressed sound, more of a, I don't think it's near as loud as what tubes are, but this is what a lot of the guys would be using in LA that have to hurry up and throw their stuff on stage and hurry up and get it off, because if they're the opening band, guys, you only have like 5 minutes to get your shit off stage before the headliners come up there and they put their stuff up there. So when you have tube amps, they're made out of glass, and think of it like a light bulb. Okay, there are these little monofilament little things on the inside, right? The little curly Q things in a light bulb in the old incandescent days. They're basically little transistors inside there, right? They get really hot and they light up like light bulbs do, okay? Which is exactly what this amp, not this one, but a tube amp would have. The benefits of using a solid state like this one is it doesn't have those tubes. So you don't have to worry about those tubes overheating and breaking as you're moving it, hauling ass, you know, throwing it from the stage down to your roadie, and maybe he drops it and he breaks one of the tubes. You have to go get your amp head retubed and rebiased, which is a whole different process in and of itself. This is a solid state, very, very durable, very loud, very functional. This would have been from the early 80s. It's actually a production model made here in the US. I'm sorry, made in Great Britain. Marshall, the real ones are all made in Great Britain, which is what this one would have been. So that's a 1984, okay? Very, very sought after product. Into that, we're gonna plug this into the 1983 Marshall JCM 900 lead 1960 slant cab. Okay, now this is gonna be outfitted with 4 Celestion Vintage 30 speakers, which, yes, there's a trend happening there. Vintage 30s are really a good overall speaker. They're very durable. They don't pop, they don't snap, they don't break. This is actually a 1983 cabinet, okay? It's on casters down there. You'll be able to see those casters. Let's see here, get those casters. There we go. Now this guy, this thing's been on the road with me, man. I mean, it's been down to Florida, Oklahoma, all over the state of Texas. A very durable rig. Like I said, I don't have to worry about it breaking. Very loud, very, very efficient. I plug a lot of pedals into that. So you went from the 60s and 70s of the other amp I just showed you into the 80s, okay, which is this rig. This is really the one I would use mostly because it's so easy to deal with. It's a plug and play kind of deal, never any issues. Now, from the 80s, right, you move up a couple of 3 generations and you come to what folks are using nowadays, because guys, this is a lot of weight on an old man. You know, I just shared with everybody I had back surgery. It's because I'm lugging this shit around, man. I'm lugging all this shit around. That right there, that head is about 40 pounds. And although that speaker cabinet is on casters, somebody's got to lift it up on stage. And generally, you know, it's going to be me. So that one weighs about 60 pounds there. Okay, heavy, heavy, heavy. So everybody's like, you know, we got to find a better way of doing this. So you have the third evolution of sound, okay? And what we have now, guys, is we have a processing board, okay? Instead of using all of this, now we have my little Line 6 HX Stomp. This is now that. This is a microprocessor, guys, that it is already formatted to have every amp sound that you can imagine, okay? It is, think of it like an amplifier head, although it's solid state, there's no tubes in it. Basically, this thing goes into this tiny little 1/8-inch speaker, which is a 2,000 watt output, peak output speaker. It's a single speaker. It's got a little tweeter cone in there, and it's got the 8-inch subwoofer speaker. It's a great little unit. Okay, now on the back of that, you've got a plug in and a plug out, and then you have another XLR out to the front of the house. So I plug from, well, here's my signal chain. Guitar is there, comes in. This is my little tuner. Okay, this is it's also a mute button. So if you want to kill your signal, you just hit that button and it's a true bypass. It'll turn it off immediately. It's our tuner. This is our distortion pedal for lead only. This is only for if we do a little lead stuff, which I don't do a lot because I'm a rhythm guy, but that's only for leads, right? Punch in just for 15 seconds, do our lead thing, punch back out, and then it goes back into this, okay? It goes into this speaker, okay? And that speaker goes to front of house, right? So that's for the engineer to plug into the soundboard, which in turn goes to the front of the house, which is what you guys hear. So instead of carrying all this or all that, now all I got to carry is a little backpack with this, that, and 2 guitars on a stand, and I'm good to go. So guys, you can see how technology has come from these giant, it's just like your cell phone, guys. Those giant ass cell phones that were in the bag, remember those? How big and bulky they were and how small they are now and how efficient. It's the same thing, guys. This now is the rig I play 9 times out of 10. Now, do I like it as much as a rig like that? I do not, okay? I would much prefer to use the old school, right? So this is gonna push a lot of air behind you. Imagine you're up on stage and everybody's screaming your name and blah, 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 and you got the lights and the you know, people are there, 200, 300 people. And then all you have is this little wimpy thing behind you. Now this thing, guys, will be every bit as loud as what this would. But remember, it's the sound engineer that handles the loudness. The only thing you need to hear is what's on stage, or stage volume. This will give you the stage volume you need. But for my own liking, I'd much rather have this or the big rig over there. But because it's so much quicker and easier on the back, most people are using or they call it going direct, which is this. It's just a multi-processing board that has all the inputs already processed in it, and you just plug and play. Okay guys, so I just took you through a extraneous little tour of my rigs, the rigs I've used in the past, the rigs I use currently on stage, and I've given you a little bit of journey from the 60s to the current on what technologies folks are using. It's pretty in-depth. I hope you got something out of it. Now next Friday, guys, we'll try to have these uploaded and live to you by 12 o'clock Central Standard. Hopefully that will happen. That's my goal, but you know, hey man, things happen, right? But next week we start with the guitars, but I just thought it was prudent to show you that guitars are one thing, but they only sound really as good as the amps that it comes through, right? That goes to the front of the house. Really, you can cater your own sound and tone, but you have to really do that primarily with your amps, okay? You can use your volume and your tone settings on your guitar. You know, you could play either up close to the neck or down by the bridge for a thinner sound down here, or a bassier sound up here. You can roll down your tone, roll down your volume. But basically, guys, it's going to be your pedals, it's going to be your amp, and it's, believe it or not, cables. What kind of cables you use matter, right? So I just thought I would share with you the amp sections first, condensed all three down into one, which is this long video today. The upcoming videos should only be about 5 or 6 minutes, easier to get through. And then at the end of every little segment, I'll do a little playing, just hopefully not trademark stuff. So you may or may not be able to hear a little riff in there that you'll recognize, because, you know, the trademark guys are out there and they're trying to strike us for every little thing. So I'll just have to play my own little things and just kind of let you hear different tones from the guitar itself. But guys, the amps are very, 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 very important. You know, it's like your stereo. You could have a great stereo, but what kind of speakers are you pushing them through? Same thing. It's all signal pad. Guys, I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend. I really appreciate you checking us out on this. I'm really excited about this new series coming up, because I love to cook, but I really love to play guitar too. And since I can't cook right now, I just want to share my guitar world with you and bring you in pretty deeply into what it is that I do when I'm not cooking. So guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you all have a blessed weekend. If you can, get out there and cook. If you can get out and support your live music scene, do that, guys, because there's bands like mine that really depend on your $10 cover charge to make a living, which my bands don't really play for money, but we do get some money. So if you can get out and support some local bands, try that. If you've never gone out and said, hey man, you know, that venue down there's got a band in it, I'm gonna go check them out. Go check them out, guys, because music, live music, is a really cool thing. Very rarely is it perfect, but it's always wonderful. So check them out, support your local musicians. Thanks again, guys. Until next week, Barbecue Rockstar out.